Hello, my video today is on painting a watercolor card of a very simple evergreen branch. And once again, I'm doing it on a 5x7 watercolor. It is 300 grams per meter squared cold press watercolor paper using a very small brush of a size 3 and using a tray of paints in which I'm combining some blues and greens and blacks to get kind of a variety of evergreen colors, and then some magentas and blues to get a kind of a purpley background. The idea is to use the wet on wet technique. I'm going to produce something like this, kind of a tree branch where the background mixes right in with the actual branches. And I like to paint with 2 cards going at once so that while one's drying, you can work on the other one. So you're welcome to do that too. It's very simple. It goes very quickly. If at any time you need to pause, go ahead and pause the video to try it for yourself. I start with a container of water. I am starting by painting some leaves for an evergreen branch in a diagonal direction, just with water. And I'm doing it very quickly because this is very absorbent paper. And I'm trying to flow the branches away from me. I'm not painting with a ton of detail, just trying to get some general branch strokes. Then I'm taking my tray, combining a little blue, a little green, a little black. You can test it out on a piece of paper if you like that color. If you think, nope, it needs to be a little bit more greener, a little bit more blacker, try and find the color you want. You can put all 3 colors in this branch. It can be done in layers. So because I want to go quick, I'm going to take my color, put the paint where I think the water is, and you can see that it kind of just paints itself. It only goes where the water was. I can see my picture looks quite a bit tealier than I intended, but that's okay. So once I have a bit of detail in, I take my brush with water and I pull the color away from the branch towards the edge. I am just using water. I can turn my board so it flows in certain directions. I kind of have a diagonal direction coming through. I can just pull the extra pigment right onto the tape. And then some of it is going up into the sky. At this point, if you want to, you can put a blue or you can put a purple in your sky. I'm putting a purple through my sky. Now, I don't want to see the edge of the pigment, so I put lots of water to pull it through the painting. If I want more of that color in other areas, just put a little pigment and pull it through with water. Now that's just the first step. I set this one aside and I'm going to start another. Okay, so once again, here's the method. Painting the branch with water, going fairly quickly, doing lots of sort of needles on your branch, ending your branch before it gets to here or here. Lots of water now. Finding a color you like with greens and blues and blacks mixed together. Painting it very gently on with your brush, trying to remember or see where the water is, letting it flow where the water is. And then when you've done that general layer, take water and pull the color over to the side or down below your branch by just touching to the pigment or starting from the top and dripping water through your painting. And trying to dilute the pigment, even brushing over the tape. I also, in the last painting, kind of added a blue or sort of a purple to my sky because I happen to like the colors magenta and green together. But if you like a sort of more sky blue, you can add sky blue, but just something that's different than the green and something that you want to flow through the painting. So you want to keep looking at your painting upside down. You want to watch for drip marks. You might like that effect. You might like how it gathered there. You might want to make it drip straight down so it looks kind of like rain. Any of these effects are great. Remember, you can also use black in your background. It'll produce sort of a gray color, so black works too. This is a bit of black, which will turn gray. Okay. So I'm going to set this one aside to dry. Come back to my first one. All right, so now what we want to do is put more detail of our branches. Now, you get quite a lot of pigment on your brush. You can go over where you saw your branches before, or create your own new ones in the white areas. If you go over wet areas, it will be quite fuzzy and it will spread out your paint. I'm painting away from myself so that they taper. I'm trying to do lots of branches because some of the branches on a spruce tree are very, have a lot of needles. And now I'm pulling some of the color over to the side. And some of the watercolor through this area. Now, what you want to watch is that each of these four corners is different. You want to watch that there's not sort of areas where the paint kind of stops. So you can just keep continually adding water and go back to some of those colors you had before, which I had kind of a purple. I'm doing it very watery. So basically it's creating atmosphere. Very watery on my tray as well. So it's dripping on the tray. Why do I want a very watery background? Well, it creates kind of, like I say, kind of an atmosphere. It's like fading into the background. And as you get more detail, don't try and fill in everything. Try to leave spaces that completely have no paint at all. Try to leave some areas where people can sort of breathe, their eyes can rest. So that painting, come back to it a third time. This is how my other painting looked. That is not it. It's this one. Okay. So it's fairly dry. You can tell by touching your finger to it. So what I want to do is I want to create the green branches can make them long. I can make them fairly bushy. I am making them kind of random, like not equal left, right sort of features. So that's why I keep moving my hand over my painting and going in different areas. Always kind of away from the branch. And you can sort of make your branch sort of go bend downwards because of weight of snow or gravity. So it can kind of flow downwards too. Once you have that second layer on, remember to add some water. Remember to pull some of it to your sides. You can put the water in different spots than you did the first time. Like water was here before, now I'm putting water through this area. Remember I had kind of a purpley pink background. Can put that back in. And make sure that it is flowing through the painting. Can turn my painting and make it drip certain ways. Ooh, see, this is what happens when you don't have water. And so you have to add water if you kind of forgot that idea of making it, of dipping at your brush to make the paint really watery. I am just dipping some purple spots throughout this area now. Turning it, always looking at it from different angles. Watching what's happening in this corner now. Nothing much is happening, so I'm going to draw some color over here. I noticed that I had some blue before, so I'm going to pull some blue to this corner. Okay, so you can see color going that way, color going that way. If you think, well, why don't I have color going all the way? You don't need it to go all the way through, but you can. It could be blue here, but green here. All right. Then I'm going to lay this one down to dry. So as you come back to your painting, as you get another view at it, you can go, oh, I seem to have everything going that way. What about up in here? So you can examine it, decide where you want more branches. This is kind of your third and final look at your painting. You're going to use lots of pigment on this final kind of okay. Now some of my branches look fairly feathery, I would call it. To me, they don't look like there's enough filled in this area. That's always up to you, how much you fill it in with actual detail. Because the person's eye, person looking at it naturally kind of fills in the detail. See, you don't have to see the end of that branch to know that it continues. You can see some are in the background, some are in the foreground. So you're basically filling out foreground now. I tend to put lots in here. The thicker here in this corner. Now in the end, if you like the colors, the sort of the tealy blue, the purples and the greens, stop. We can later add white to sort of look like snow clumps. Okay, there's an effect you can do at the very end. So I'm going to stop right there. I kind of like it. And there is such a thing as overdoing it, putting too much in. Okay, this one's still fairly wet. Notice I have marked a T for what is the top of the card because you kind of don't want to do them upside down, although they can flow downwards too. The way this is, it's just a branch of a tree. It's sort of a close-up of a branch. Okay. So this one has more of a sap green kind of color to it, sap green, and black compared to the first one I did. So I'm going to keep it in kind of that evergreen sap green kind of color. Now for me, I am stroking it a certain direction so that you can see what I'm painting, but you can be doing it flat so that it doesn't sort of spread or flow downwards. Now this branch is coming over to this edge as if it started somewhere way over here. That's okay too. They don't all have to be connected to one thing. It could be several branches of one tree that flow into each other. So keep that in mind too. It doesn't always have to be from one branch. I mean, it can be, but it'll just make this really thicker over here. I also can extend it into there. Still fairly wet, so they're coming out fairly light. But I'm extending it into this area. Checking out my four corners now. This one's quite pink, white, green, blue. But I noticed that it could use some more color right now. So I'm dipping into my pink a bit. Ooh, and I had a little bit of green still on that brush. It's very pinky green now. Well, it's actually magenta, not pink. I shouldn't say pink. But I like the exchange of colors between the sky and the actual plant. So if you like a yellow sky or orange, you can be putting orange in there. If you want it really Christmassy, of course, you can put reds in there. Turn it upside down, turn it sideways, look at how it's flowing. And this may be hard to see in this light, but I'm hoping you're getting the idea that the background is kind of flowing through the branch. Okay, if you find that you are done, if you think, yeah, I want some places that are quite distinct and some places that are quite, looks almost erased, and you've checked that there's no kind of water collecting anywhere, you can set that aside. So that would be the end of it. If you're like me and you go, okay, what else can I do to make it sparkly? There is silver watercolors you can add. There is white acrylic you could add to make it look snowy. There's white watercolor. You can splatter if you like that technique. Um, so because this is very sort of, it's very much a tealy green and teal and greenish color, I'm going to just add white to it. I am going to take my tube paint, and this is the kind of paint I use. Okay. You don't need very much. You can dip your brush so it's fairly wet right into it. Get quite a lot on your brush. And you can tap it onto this painting. That way it'll kind of look like, well, it'll look like splatter, but it's kind of more random snow. If you like that effect. Now, if you want sort of clumps, because it's like clusters, you can sort of clump where you think snow would gather. But because this painting is a little bit wet, it's going to sort of combine with those colors. And it dries kind of translucent, see-through like. So you can put snow, you can put white into a painting, change it. And acrylic would look better because acrylic paint is kind of like painting with toothpaste. It's thicker. I'm gonna do some more splatters so that I can splat in the sky. I am also going to maybe splat some of the teal and the purple on this one. Now that's just for fun. You don't have to. You may not remember how you even got that color. Where did you mix? What two paints colors did you mix? You may not want teal in your sky. You might think, no, that looks too night-like. The purple, I say, if you put purple and teal, it might look kind of like a spacey sky. But you might like that effect. So I'm going to do it on this card just to show you. I'm not trying to splatter everywhere, but I did put some purple on. Some people paint birds in their trees. Some people hang Christmas bulbs on there, and they paint distinct circles on this branch. I like to kind of just leave it like that. It's always a good idea to sign your paintings when you're done. You can leave space if you like to write a message if you're making it really a greeting card. This is how this one looks with no splatter. So you can see there's kind of areas that have been washed out. Leave it like that. Okay. This one is sort of more sappy green. Looks more realistic to me. So I am kind of filling in more black here now in these spaces that are kind of washed out. See that? So it's washed out because the color flowed through the background. Now I'm filling it in with branches and darker sort of areas. Now branches sometimes sort of turn brown in the winter too. I haven't used brown anywhere. The dark areas are kind of there. You kind of want to balance dark and light, so should be put more dark over here or in here. You can. You can look for where are you putting all your dark stuff. Because I'm kind of doing it to show you, I'm not paying attention to every thing which makes a painting interesting. But hopefully you're getting the general idea that creating atmospheric watercolors is up to you. There's no exact steps that you must follow. You've got to learn about which colors you like in background, which colors of green you think. You got to learn whether you want realism. Those kinds of things kind of just come out of your own creative talent. Okay, so these are two cards. I hope you enjoyed the video, trying to help you with a few basic fun techniques of painting atmospheric watercolors. All right, I will pull off the tape and show you a picture in a moment. I'm just going to pause for now.